G'day, I'm Rob Malicki. Welcome to Choosing Your Uni. I'm coming to you today from the Gadigal lands here in Sydney, and my guest today is Cedar Lett from Griffith University. Thanks for joining me, Cedar. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I get the feeling you're somebody that likes to follow your nose quite a bit. How good is this?
Yeah, it's awesome. My name's Cedar Lett.
Yeah,
I study at Griffith University, and my degree is a Bachelor of Science majoring in clinical sciences.
How did you end up at Griffith Uni and doing clinical science?
So, like, in high school, I guess I was like, I'm doing medicine. Like, that's it. That's my path. Sounds fun. I'm really interested in the human body, and like I love learning about it. And so I get that in my degree, which is great. But then I guess like obviously it's very hard to get into medicine, first of all. And I probably was quite relaxed about studying in high school.
Nice.
So that maybe stopped my path a bit, but I guess we'll see in the future. I'm still like not 100%. I feel like lots of things kind of alter your trajectory on the way. You can't know where you're going to end up. You can start a degree and then end up anyway, you know. I kind of was like, yeah, I'm going to do medicine, and then that wasn't, I guess, like looking like it was going to be exactly what I ended up in. So I started looking at like biomed and things like that. And then I actually got like offers for biomed, and then I also, this was like kind of one of my like, oh, I'll just like put in for this because it sounds good and it offers me a bit of a broader kind of experience, I guess, and education on things. Like it's not like just human body, I guess. It's like more broadly science, Bachelor of Science. So
you're like, for clarity, you're doing the Bachelor of Science in clinical science. Is that right? At Griffith?
Yeah. So my major is just in clinical science. So I did like, I guess in the first and then like partway through second year, I was doing like kind of broader things that weren't like just human based, which was nice. It was good to kind of get that like broader experience. Yeah. And so it was crazy. I met this lady in the shops, and I don't even know. I just started talking to her, and I was like, oh, what should I choose? Like, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I'm kind of just doing this because like I have an interest in it. And she was like, I did a Bachelor of Business and now I'm a doctor. Like, now I'm doing medicine. Like, you can do whatever you want to try out. Like, do what you think you're interested in. And then if you want after, do medicine. Like, and so I was like, oh, great. Okay, well, I'll just do the broad kind of one. And also I think my other uni was in Sydney, and I think the Gold Coast kind of suited my like lifestyle. And also it's a bit more relaxed than Sydney. I think like Sydney very much has that like city, whereas this is kind of like, it's still city compared to where I'm from, Grafton, but like it's less, less than Sydney. So I think, yeah, a few things combined kind of ended up guiding me into Griffith and my degree. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really happy with how it's kind of ended up.
I love to say that the path is behind you. You know, there's so much pressure on young people to have to have figured everything out and to be, on the path to something.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's not until much later you go, actually, there is no path.
Yes.
We're all literally walking in the dark all the time. The path is behind you. And you only see it in retrospect.
Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know. I think like while you don't have to have an exact goal, you should like definitely jump at every opportunity. Like, I'm doing a machine learning. That's so crazy. Like I was like, might as well, good experience. And
I'm super interested in that. I definitely want to ask you about this internship in machine learning, because it's quite a diversion from clinical sciences. But before we get to that, why were you so attracted to medicine?
I'm not exactly sure, I guess, what like piqued my interest. I think I'm just like always impressed by like how perfect of a machine humans are. Like everything is like so perfectly engineered, like the earth, and I don't know, just like it, like even in our cells, inside of our cells, like I don't know, it's just like, I guess I'm just like in awe of it. And so being able to like understand that was like really exciting to me. But I guess I don't know exactly what caused me.
So what's your earliest memory of being like, holy shit, this is fascinating?
I think I was definitely one of those kids that was like, what's this? Why is this happening? I'm still a bit like that, I think, which, yeah, people say is good, but it's probably a bit annoying for some people. I'm not sure. I remember doing an assignment on skin being the largest organ of the body. That was pretty early.
Yeah.
learning about that. I'm sorry, I'm not exactly sure what like my earliest.
Okay, so you got the one on skin. Is there one that you can think of that was earlier than that? You know, like a book that was sitting on the coffee table, or a book that you remember flicking through as a kid that had those things where you can see all the nervous system and the muscles of the body, something like that, something that's even earlier.
This is kind of like a weird story. I don't know if it's like appropriate. I think it would be, but in the house that I was born, so my nan was a nurse for like 50 years or something like that. She was a nurse for ages, and so my mom's like used to draw a lot, and so my nan was like, oh, I can actually get you a skull, and mum was like, oh yeah, sure, I want to draw a skull. And because she was a nurse, it was a real human skull, and it used to just be like in our house when we were young. And I didn't know. My mum didn't even know that it was from a real human. But like years later, after we'd moved out of that house, because my parents were both like poor uni students, when they had me, they were like, oh, I'm pregnant. Okay, let's figure this out. So we used to live in like this kind of like, anyway, so we had this like skull, and my mum actually has like she did like a big drawing of it. Years later, there was like people, I think they were actually like trespassing on the property, but like they were walking and they saw this like skull sitting in the window, and they were like, oh my God, what is that skull? They called the police, even though they were trespassing. And then the police was like contacting my parents, like, excuse me, why is there a skull? Also it's human. And my mom was like, no, it's not. It's just one that was my mom got me. And then she was like, oh, actually, now that I think of it, it might be a real human skull. They didn't get in trouble, and like it ended up being fine. Like they all sorted it out. But that's kind of a crazy story, I think.
That is a crazy story.
I guess like I must have been exposed to it a bit like from a child. Like I remember like I've held it, and stuff. But
could be the origin, right?
Could be. Who knows?
You know, I'm just fascinated with the way we look back, and we're just like, where does fascination come from? I'm like you. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know how things work and everything. And so I love trying to explore back.
Yeah. When did
the origin of that? Because everything has an origin.
Yeah.
Everything has an origin, like a book that you picked up as a kid, or a story you told, or the facts, that your nan was a nurse for 50 years. And probably when you're a little kid would tell you stories about a hospital and things like that. So it's just interesting how these things, the path is behind you, right? Like you never know until you get to a certain point. You're like, why is that?
Yeah, why do I love this?
Yeah.
Why am I like this?
So
I should think more on that. I should kind of try and, I don't know, I feel like from things back in the day, I usually forget.
But it's interesting, right? Because it's for both positive and negative things in our lives. Like we have good habits and bad habits, all of us. Everything has an origin somewhere, and you can't really deal with what direction you want to head in until you address whatever those issues are, both good and bad. And so you kind of need to think back like that. Like, oh, what was my first memory of? I could tell you so many stories. I've spent so much time thinking about this stuff. why I love to write now. I might tell you the little one. I love to write. And somebody not that long ago was saying, what? I can see it lights you up. Why? Why do you love to write so much? And I couldn't think of it. And that the next, that evening I'm sitting on the couch and trying to think back to it. And I realized that when I was 10 years old, I wrote a love letter to a girl up the street, because I was from a household with like a dad that was pretty shy, two brothers. So little female influence, certainly never really had anything to do with girls. And so instead of, confronting my feelings as most humans do, I thought I'll just write a love letter. So I sneak up to post box, as the sun setting, and I put in this like letter, and I run home, I hide in my room the rest of the night. And pretty much the next day I go to school, and like all of the kids know about it.
Oh, no.
Everybody knows about it. And it was just humiliation. And I realized, like 3 decades later, that the reason I love to write is it's almost like a fuck you to the world. It's like, look at me. I'm going to write this. I'm going to publish it, and you can't hurt me anymore.
Yeah.
And so every time somebody says to me, "Oh, Rob, you write really well," it's like putting a plaster, a Band-Aid on the little broken heart
You
of the
see that? Yeah, yeah.
old Rob. You know what I mean?
You see that younger Rob? You can do it.
You
Don't
can
let
do it,
them
Rob.
doubt you.
Exactly. So
Oh.
it's just like looking back is really empowering, because like I had this trauma there, this hurt that was under there. But when you see why and what what that led to, it's actually quite empowering, and suddenly you're free from that bit of the past. So I really love that whole process.
And do you think that you didn't get into it for a while because of that? Like, do you think it took you a while to start writing again because of that, and you just didn't know?
I've always wanted to be published. Like I've always wanted to publish since I was 13 or 14 years old, but I couldn't understand why. I didn't know why.
Mm.
And it wasn't until I spent that time thinking like, God, why is it? And then I having this realization that it really literally came back down to that love
Well.
letter as a 10-year-old.
Oh.
And I have been publishing some stuff on LinkedIn and stuff for some time. I'll write posts, but realizing that, and this is only 6 months ago, 7 months ago, has just like made me free to publish. And I mean, it doesn't have to. When I was 13, the only way to be published was like literally write a book. So I thought, I'll write a book. And nowadays, you don't have to write a book; you just write posts on LinkedIn. And so now every day I'm writing a post on LinkedIn, and that might be a reflection, it might be a big mistake I've made, it might be a story, but I just want to write and be published because I feel like I'm drawn to that. Even though the origin of that was like pain, was pain.
A painful experience, yeah.
Yeah, quite often the origin of things is pain. So interesting. So because you've come out of a country town. For those people who don't know Grafton, tell me what Grafton was like growing up as a kid.
I actually moved there when I was like 13. Before that, we lived in Corindi, which is, I guess, even smaller. My primary school had like 50 people in it when I started there. It had like 100 by the time I was finished, but
blown out.
It got bigger, yeah. And I think it's probably way bigger now. I drove past over the Christmas holidays because I went back to see my parents, and they're like doing all these renovations and things. And I was like, oh, good for you. So that was nice. But Grafton, I don't know. I think it's like back in time, kind of. It's very like traditional, and my parents tell me that it's like when they were growing up. So like in the 1970s and 1980s. And I don't know, it was good though, I guess. A lot of people, like a lot of teenagers, like call it G-hole. They do not like it there. They're like, all I want to do is get out of here. And like, I think it is like this, like I don't live there now, but like it's not as if it's like an awful. I think it's a nice place to grow up. They've got, do you know where Grafton is? They've got like, yeah. So I know, and I think it is like a very like community place. Everyone knows everyone. Oh my gosh, I started working for my gap year. I worked in a cafe. Before that, like years before, I'd been working at Big W, and I've worked there for a long time. So I knew lots of people through there. There's regulars at Big W, would you believe? I would have people that I would see like every weekend and every Thursday, and they'd be like, oh, Cedar, hi. And I'd be like, oh, hi, Jane, or Warren. There was this guy called Warren. Anyway, when I started working at the cafe and things, and like finished school and was like out and about, everybody, and like you're in the shops and you're like just having to wave to everybody, which I guess is like it's nice. I don't know, like you feel safe, I guess, because you feel as if you could talk to anyone. So it was a nice experience, but I think for the teenagers of the area, they kind of have a bad view of it, which is a bit sad. But all in all, nice place to grow up, I think.
But pretty normal also, just wanting to get out of a place like that.
Yeah,
it's very nice. I think it's the same. It's a very pretty little town. The river is nice. You got access. Once you're old enough to drive a car, you can go other places.
Oh yeah, really that's nice. Right. There's awful public transport, but
so then moving to the Gold Coast. Tell me about Griffith Gold Coast. What you like about that campus?
I go between Nathan and Gold Coast campus because my major is actually based in Nathan, because they don't do clinical science here for some reason, even though they have the medical building. But that's fine. But I don't know. I really like, I think I haven't actually toured many other campuses, so I'm not sure if this is like a normal thing or not. But at the Griffith campuses, they've got lots of like you've got a path here and a path here, but then in between the paths there'll be like trees. Actually, on my orientation at Nathan, I walked in and then I could see people looking up in the tree, and I was like, oh, like what's there? I was like nervous going in, I was like, oh, what's there? And they were like, there's a koala in the tree right here. And I was like, what? oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like on the campus, like I was walking in and there was a koala in the tree and I was like, oh my God, that's so nice. Like really cool. And then the second time I went there, there was like a massive carpet python
Oh,
crossing
wow.
as well. Like I was like, this place is nuts. Yeah, I don't know. It's really nice. I do like the campuses. So yeah, I guess I like how they incorporate like nature and the bush into the campuses. It's not like a big cleared space with like just some buildings and shade sails and things. They've got like actual natural areas, which is really nice.
They're quite different campuses, aren't they? I mean, Nathan is very bushy.
Bushy, yeah.
There wouldn't be, there'd be a half a dozen campuses in Australia that are as green, and I love it as well. I love the nature at Nathan. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But then you go down to Gold Coast and it's also got quite a bit of vegetation, but it feels a bit more flash and modern, with the
yeah, it
hospital
does,
cross.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's got that like, well, I think it is a newer campus, is it? Yeah. And it's got like all those big fancy buildings and it's next to the hospital and things, which I think must be really handy for medical students, having the two hospitals right there. And
tell me about like, because you're quite unique. I mean, studying on two different campuses. So what's the difference what do you find the differences between the two campuses other than the way they look? Is there a difference in the vibe? Do people hang out more at one than the other?
I think I see there's definitely in the middle of Nathan where there's the food. I think there's always kind of like a hangout area there, but I think at the Gold Coast campus, it's spread out and people are hanging out like outside more, because I don't know. People use the library a lot at the Nathan one, but I don't actually see them. I don't know if there's as many kind of areas that are made for sitting outside other than in that kind of food court area. So at the Gold Coast campus, it's so nice. I love sitting outside when I'm studying. And so I think there is that kind of maybe like more relaxed study vibe. Like you go there to like relax, but also study. But it's not, I actually have a friend and he went on a date at the campus. I was like, random, but I guess like there's some nice areas to sit.
Gold Coast wise, down on the
Gold
coast.
Yeah. I find probably not as much sitting outside and kind of, which is interesting, I guess, because there's all the nature and things out there. Why wouldn't people? But maybe it's just because there's not really areas that like are designated for it. It's kind of just like, yeah, it's inside. It's in the library. Go on in there. But I think Gold Coast campus also has a bit more of a relaxed vibe just in general. And people are, I don't know, wearing their boardies in, and then maybe they're not boardies as much in the Nathan one.
Do you think it's because, I'm just thinking as you're talking, and maybe it's because Gold Coast is really accessible, with the train, the tram, which drops you literally right there. There's a lot more student accommodation around.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like people maybe hang out more there than at Nathan, where maybe people are coming in and out a little bit more, just for classes and then going off to do other things elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that definitely. And then I think people might actually even if they're not studying there would go into the Gold Coast and maybe use the library, because there's like the food court's quite good at Gold Coast. They have Guzman and Gomez, which I think is like the kind of like one that's like closest around, especially for that Smith collective with all the colorful buildings. So people from there probably who don't even study at Gold Coast, Griffith, come over and just hang out, and because you can use the library even if you're not a student, can't you?
Not sure. You can certainly go into the libraries. I've walked in there with a video camera before, so pretty much like selfie stick.
Do you like Griffith?
The librarian look at you and they're like, "Oh, what's that? That looks unusual." But
you're like, "Don't."
They let you go. I'm a student, really.
That's funny.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah. I study here, I swear.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's because the facilities are really good. And sorry, you just mentioned a particular part of the Gold Coast campus, the Smith Collective.
Oh yeah, that's actually
that.
That's just because I think they made it for the Commonwealth Games. So it's like those big, it's not actually on campus, it's just like across the road down from the hospitals, and it's just like those big massive colorful buildings, and they've got like their own Woolworths and things like that. But I did actually want to quickly talk about the pool as well, because I haven't been recently, but I probably should get back into it. They have the pool there and it's so nice. You can go in the morning and like anyone can go, not only students. I like had one of my friends come with me one time, and you can just go and swim in the morning. It's heated, so you're like, oh, really hot by the end of your swim, but
Nice.
it's so nice. Yeah. And like, I guess you really want a heated pool in winter, but and you get to, if you go early in the morning, you can see all the like people who have like Olympic tattoos and stuff, and you're like swimming next to them, and it's like so intimidating, but also cool to see like with their butterfly. It's so impressive watching people who are really good at swimming do butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that area because I've seen it, but I haven't actually been across and down into it. So I'll make sure I get in there next time I'm down there. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the clinical. So it's a Bachelor of Science, clinical science. Tell me a little bit more about that. What sort of classes do you take? Because you're saying it's quite a broad degree.
Yeah, or just broader than biomed. So I do share a lot of classes with biomed students. So I have a fair few friends who are doing that course, but there are a few, especially in first year, where I kind of like didn't only learn about like human body cells. I got to learn about animal and plant cells and things like that. So I did like the broadness. My parents are both like quite environmental. They're both environmental scientists, I think. So I think maybe as well, I'd learned about the environment so much as a kid that it was just too much. I couldn't study it myself. Maybe that's also kind of led me on the medical path. But no, it was really good. I did a course last trimester, and it was kind of, it felt very much like a preparatory, is that a word, course for like going into research. And we did like different small units. So we had like 4 hours of labs in a week, and you would do like we did like microbiology, and we did like PCR and different sorts of like areas of scientific study, I guess. And so you got like a little taste of everything, and it was nice to be able to do that because you were like, no, this isn't for me, and oh, I actually quite like this. So
what were the things you liked? What were the bits that you liked out of that really stood out?
I did like PCR. That's very interesting to me, and kind of being able to isolate like the little pieces of DNA. Well, I guess PCR is like amplification, but then like being able to isolate it, and I don't know, like you put it on the gel and then you put it under a thing and you can see your little bars and things like that. So that was quite cool, and it was exciting to see like if you had been able to isolate the correct one and like being able to cut out the right like plasmid, whatever. That was really good. I did like that. I found microbiology a little bit like smelly. Like when you open up the agar plates, it smells. And so you're like streaking it and you're like, oh, but it was good. Like I don't mind streaking and things like that, but whether or not I want to be smelling agar plates all day, kind of maybe I would have to like make a machine learning algorithm or something. But yeah, and then there was like early ones that I liked, but I can't remember.
And so just as you're talking about quite a broad range of topics. So I guess the nice thing about doing that degree, and you sort of alluded to it to begin with, was that it's opening up a lot of different pathways for you downstream. You may end up in med, but what are some of the other things that, some of the other options that look like they're out there for you, should you be interested?
I did a genetics course, which I really enjoyed. And then like doing that, I was like, oh, I could like study this. I think I could really get into this whole DNA, and kind of like in my NCP, I spoke a lot about preventative health because I think like if you don't get sick in the first place, that's the best possible outcome, I think there's like secrets, I guess, in genetics that can help us like be able to live lifestyles which can like ensure that we're healthy from the start rather than having to fix it after we're already sick. So like if you can kind of this is, I guess, maybe controversial, I don't know if people are doing it so much, but like sequence your DNA and be like, oh, that we need to watch out for that gene, like it might express in a bad way or something like that. You can kind of like maybe make lifestyle changes or like get like on the front foot, with like whatever might occur based on what they've seen in the sequence.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so I've liked that. And then I actually I really liked, we were doing human physiology last trimester, and we did some of the like developmental and embryological study and things like that. That was very cool, like seeing fetuses from like nothing to becoming a baby. That was really interesting. it's like they're kind of disturbing when they're first, like it's just we're just like a
The bean.
two-ended tube, and it's literally
Yep.
our mouth and the other end, like, and then
Yep.
it just like all like it's like this, and then it all comes together, which is crazy.
Crazy, huh?
So I really enjoyed that as well. I guess I could get into that. I don't know. I find so many things cool that I don't know exactly where I want to like dedicate all my time, you know?
It's what I love about that is, and this is why I'm a big proponent for people who aren't 100% sure what they want to do, just to do a kind of general degree, but in a sort of discipline area, and just to explore.
Yeah.
Then you have choice. You know, the worst thing in life is when you're pigeonholed and you have no choice. You're
Yeah.
stuck doing one thing and you literally have no choice. The moment you have choices and flexibility, it's like we're freer. And I find that freedom to choose is really, really critical.
Yeah.
So it's quite empowering. Then you're just like, oh yeah, I could do genetics.
Do so many things. What do I choose?
I could follow the original plan, original dream of doing medicine. It's still there as an option.
Yeah.
All right. So, I've got so many things to explore. Let's talk about the internship to start with. What are you doing? Tell me about it.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I'm doing machine learning internship with CSIRO.
It's very different to clinical science.
I know. Yes. So I was so nervous going into it, actually, because I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to like be able to contribute to like this research? Because I have my supervisor, and I'm kind of like jumping on a project with him and helping him with his research. And I think the end goal, I guess, is to publish the paper, and then my name will be on it, which is crazy and very exciting. Yeah. So I was really nervous going into it, but he's been so good with allowing me to like take some time at the beginning to wrap my head around it. And like, I had to learn Python. I didn't know any Python. I knew like a few like basic things about R. And so going into this, I was so nervous, and I was like, yeah, like I've looked at some things online. I've watched a few like tutorials and things like that. But he was like, oh, so do you know what deep learning is? And I was like, no, I don't know what deep learning is. And then he was like, okay, that's fine. Like, we'll just, I'll send you a few things to watch, and we can talk about it as you like go through it if you have any issues and things like that. So I wouldn't say I'm a professional in Python at all, but I definitely feel a lot more confident, and I can like read the code and know what's going on in it, which is so exciting. Like,
yeah, wow.
Yeah, to think that a month ago, I think I started about a month ago, I had no idea, like, and I didn't know what machine learning was, or deep learning, or like neural networks, and being able now to like have an understanding, and he can use like words, and I can be like, yeah, oh yeah, I know what that is, like easy, you know, is like so crazy to me. But yeah, so I guess, do you want me to tell you a little bit about the project? Or
Please do. Yeah.
Okay, so we're working on ensuring that it doesn't necessarily have to be in health, like once the machine learning like model is finished. But I guess that's kind of like where we're focusing it, because like it's such an important area. So what we're working on is like, so say like as an example, a use for it could be if you have like a image of like a mole, and you're like, oh, could this have like some sort of like melanoma or something like that, or carcinoma, whatever. You could send this record into like an algorithm, and it would be able to classify what it was based on its training. And so, but the main part of our project is ensuring that if you're sending that information, it is like complete private. So
Secure.
You have no worries that when you're sending it, you're going to be like, oh, what if like someone finds out that I have this, and
your Medibank private account has been hacked, and all of the data of half of Australia has been snuck off on the internet. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, yeah. So like, yeah, it's scary times, you know. We hear constantly about like these people hacking and finding out like this extremely private data that, yeah, the like identity theft, all this stuff, like healthcare data you do not want everyone knowing about. That is your private information. So yeah, it's like so exciting. And yeah, and I guess we're like trying to, yeah, it's called differentially private, and it just like basically guarantees, oh, I don't know if you should use it. Yeah, I guess it like basically ensures that it's
anonymized,
as private as it can get. Yeah, sorry, what did you just say?
Anonymized.
Yes, exactly. So like no matter like who is on the other end, they cannot find out who you are and things like that, but you get the information and like whatever that you want. Yeah.
Super interesting. I mean, what I find, and so you seem to be enjoying it. Looks like you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a really important kind of thing, and it's so exciting that something that I get to work on is like in the real world, which is crazy because like in uni you get to learn things that you can apply in the real world, but this is like real world, like it might be implemented in like hospitals and things like that, so that they can be training these machines and make it easier to like diagnose or classify different sorts of things or something. So it's exciting, I guess. Yeah.
It seems to me you're very good at following your nose.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, like, you find an interesting opportunity and you kind of jump on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Might as well make the most, Even if like this is so different to what I never would have seen myself computer science, like data science. Oh, that's crazy. Like me, never. But like getting into this, I'm like, if I like do research or if I do medicine, how can I like try and use these skills and implement things to be able to help people like with like whatever I'm helping them with, So yeah, I guess yeah, just like I just try and make the most of like whatever situation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. For those people that are watching this, what I find is so critical when you're at uni is, sure, you've got your like main degree, in your case, Bachelor of Science, Clinical Science, but alongside that, you're adding on something which is a little bit left field. Like they very clearly go together. There's very clear, important need for that, but it's very left field. There are going to be almost zero students in all of Australia who will be finishing clinical degree with some knowledge and experience in a real world data science project.
Yeah.
And that's like put you from being one of thousands to one in 50,000, one in 100,000. You know what I mean? It's not the one thing that you did. If you're just doing this one or that one, like both, one in 1,000 or whatever, or one of thousands. But when you combine those two things together, it's like suddenly your uniqueness goes up a factor.
Yeah, very cool to learn about.
Cedar, it's been awesome talking with you. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with Choosing Your Uni audience. And I wish you all the best for the new Colombo Plan program. It sounds incredible. Look forward to following up with you in 2 years' time to see how it ended up.
Oh, I know. That's crazy. I can't believe it. Thank you.